Roughly 40 years ago, a new form of education was pioneered, or rather, an old way with a new presence in American culture. It was founded on the premise that parents could school their children at home, without the need for a formal classroom setting or qualified teachers in all the basic school subjects. This was the concept of homeschooling. Though in its youth it was often considered highly controversial, homeschooling has flourished over the years and is currently one of the fastest growing forms of education in the U.S.
The year that we started homeschooling was 1983. As a matter of fact, that was the year that Wisconsin passed its current homeschool law.
There were a lot of unknowns and very few people in Connecticut in 1983 who were homeschooling. I could probably list them on one or two hands. I know that it started in any formal sense as a benefit to people who traveled worldwide and didn't have access to schools, and also to missionaries who lived overseas. There was a small minority of people who were using homeschooling as an alternative for public school because their kids had special needs or issues that made it very difficult for them to even function in a school setting.
The typical, school right now is that you'll have, 3 third grade classes, and they're all 30 kids in each one of the class, and they're only following one particular curriculum. Well, me growing up, I had dyslexia growing up, so that whole thing wouldn't have worked for me at all, and it didn't work for me. I struggled through school to be able to meet a child where they're at, or if a child's excelling, being able to move them further ahead.
Just being able to address each child's individual needs and to be able to play upon their own natural curiosity at a young age, we could see that that was an area that really had some wonderful possibilities.
And I'm very confident with what we're doing. We have a lot of flexibility, and we're constantly adjusting ourselves to prepare them for the rest of their life. Also, we wouldn't have chosen homeschooling. We didn't feel that was the best avenue for us.
There's a fair amount of responsibility as well. We've taken on the responsibility of educating our kids and teaching them, the subjects that they need to learn. And that does take a fair amount of effort.
It was very difficult. First of all, because I grew up in a culture where homeschooling was like not the way to go. That would mean you're ruining your child's life because the school system has so much to offer, the opportunities. You can never offer those kind of things in a homeschool setup, and that was the mindset from which we came. It took about 1.5 years, 2 years before we could say, okay, we've got this, we can do it.
I think the hardest thing for us was trusting that we had made the right decision because it's so important. And I know that there were many times when we would be in prayer that we were doing the best by our kids that we could possibly be doing.
As a parent, there will always be a fear of whether you've done enough, or whether you've chosen wisely, or you've done the right thing for your child, or have you, because when you homeschool, there's more of a responsibility on your part as a parent, and so there's always that fear. But I think one of my friends, it was Bob, who said that even I am not big enough to destroy God's plans for my child. So I think for me that was a powerful statement to go by.
Another aspect of the homeschooling movement, which is important to many of its participants, is the increased opportunity for parents to instruct their children in their own worldviews and beliefs.
The parents have total knowledge, of course, of what their children are learning, and so if they want to, for instance, if they disagree with sort of the cultural point of view on a certain issue, that they can teach their children what they believe and not what the culture says.
We wanted to be responsible parents, but we also wanted to be responsible as Christians, to not expose them to things that might damage their spirit.
We also very much wanted to incorporate our Christian faith and beliefs into our homeschooling, and we wanted it to be an integral part of how they understand the world around them.
Since homeschooling is still not a very prominent form of education, it has often conceived myths and stereotypical outlooks that may not be true of the homeschooling population as a whole. One often heated topic is how kids in homeschooling environments receive social interaction.
Are social concerns a problem for homeschoolers? No. Not if you make any sort of effort at all to get together with other homeschoolers and socialize. I've had numerous friends. I'm guessing as many as anybody else really has had to have the opportunity to have.
Socialization is always an issue that comes up whenever homeschooling is brought up. And the idea of your kids ending up being socially stunted is just a big fallacy. I mean, homeschool kids are not socially stunted. They're very well-rounded. They're able to talk to everybody.
I work with kids. That's what I do for a living. And I work with kids that are in public schools that have social adjustment problems or anxiety issues or other issues that pop up from being in a public school setting where their confidence gets torn down. So I could say it can go both ways. I think with homeschooling, I think it's important for you to engage your kids in activities, getting them involved in church, getting them involved in acting or art or in drama or whatever it might be. So I'd have to say a lot of it has to do with what the parents do to engage their children in being socially integrated.
Socially, I don't think homeschoolers are at a disadvantage, especially from my experience. I mean, there's a huge misconception with the public schoolers that, of what homeschooling really is. I tell as many people as I could that there is a homeschool community. It's not just me alone with a book in my room. And I think that was my biggest social obstacle in high school, entering high school, is explaining to people that I'm not sheltered, that I'm not dysfunctional socially, because there was such a big myth going around that there was no possible way I could function. In fact, after I made friends, which was relatively easy, people were shocked to find out that I was homeschooled. I loved telling them after a couple months of being friends, and then they never would have guessed.
I get asked almost every single time someone finds out if I'm a homeschooler, did you have friends in high school? Did you talk to people? And they don't believe me because I am very talkative. And yes, we were able to make lots of friends. Some of my best friends I met through the homeschool programs.
Another misconception is that all homeschoolers are really smart, really bright. Another one is that they're all really stupid, they don't really know anything.
I think a lot of times people like to lump homeschoolers in one general broad category, and I think the homeschooling experience is going to differ from one family to the next. So are they misunderstood? I think is it still a mystery? I think for a lot of people, it is really out of the box.
One thing that I think is a little bit of a misconception right now is because of the fact that virtual schooling has become so, it's really grown by leaps and bounds in the state. And I think many people equate virtual schooling with homeschooling. And in a sense, yes, you can call it homeschooling, but technically, if they're in a virtual school, they're enrolled in a public school or a charter school. Mm-hmm. So it's really not, in my mind, the same thing as homeschooling. When the parent sets the curriculum, the parent makes all the choices, and the parent is the teacher.
But what qualifies parents to teach their kids at home? Many do not have college degrees or carry a teaching license.
Sometimes there are subjects we don't know an incredible amount about, but we are able to learn ourselves.
I'm always learning. I'm willing to learn alongside my kids. I'm willing to search out whatever resources we need to learn the subject matter we've decided to learn. So I feel like my role as their teacher and as their parent is to help them become lifelong learners. I want to teach them how to learn. I feel like that's the most important thing that I can give them, and I feel like that's the most important thing that my parents gave me growing up in a homeschool family.
With specialized teaching, as far as my parents aren't teachers, I find it funny that in some of my English classes with the higher specialized and doctorate English teachers, that the skills I resorted back to when I was writing or when I was doing anything English related was stuff that my mom taught me.
I feel like one of the biggest gifts that I've been given being homeschooled is that I enjoy learning. Like, I really enjoy learning about new things.
One of my highest goals was to foster an attitude where they enjoyed learning and not to kill it. I think part of the problem with school is you have a bad year with a teacher and you don't ever want school again. You suffer through it because you have to, but you never love school again. And I wanted them to love to learn. I wanted it to be a lifetime love of reading and travel and learning new cultures, learning your place in the world and your purpose.
Homeschooling communities often see an opportunity in being able to combine their efforts and offer knowledge in specific areas where a particular homeschooling parent might excel.
We do have flexibility to cooperate with other parents who have expertise in certain areas, and we've been able to take advantage of that. So we've been blessed to be able to have our kids participate with other very knowledgeable people in particular subjects. Subjects like biology and science. We know people who are biologists and scientists and people who work in the field with physics.
I offer classes for kids about age 7 to 18. I teach theater and speech and any kind of oral presentation. One of my real high values is to help kids gain confidence in any kind of public presentation.
Yeah, I've got some knowledge in a couple of areas and some interest and passion in them, so I take time and have over the last handful of years to teach classes at high school, college level in economics, and that's one of the classes I've taught. We use a advanced placement high school textbook, and I supplement that with some college level material.
Back in the 1980s, it was often difficult for homeschoolers to get involved in sports and other extracurricular activities. But today, it has expanded to include many of these opportunities.
Pretty much if there's an activity that you want to participate in and it's not available, you just figure out a way to make it work, and it happens.
My sister wanted to learn sign language. Well, my mom didn't know about that, so they had to find someone else to teach her. And then also, like with sports, my older brother wanted to do some sports, so we found there was this organization that it was put on by homeschoolers, and we play a lot of different sports: soccer, basketball, football.
Pretty much any sport that you can think of can be available. Probably, effectively any extracurricular activity that's in a public or private school is available to homeschoolers. I know in this area, at least in the Waukesha area, there's a group called Swisha, the Swisha Saints. They've got a variety of different athletics that are available if anybody wants to participate.
Swisha Saints got started back in 1997, and it was a couple of parents that got together and had boys who were in grade school at the time, and they just really liked sports, but they didn't have an outlet. The public schools and the small Christian schools weren't allowing them to play on their teams, and so they started brainstorming and just said, hey, how about if we get together and find a place to practice, and let's get a basketball team together.
Swisha in southeastern Wisconsin is one of many homeschool sports organizations in the U.S., now offering a wide variety of sports, including a JV and varsity high school baseball team.
We practice at Next Level, which is in Waukesha. It's hard work, and we make no bones about it. We started around 2003, so this year would be our 10th year. We definitely want to make it a positive experience. We try to schedule the toughest teams.
We have a couple out-of-state tournaments. There's one down in Florida, one in Missouri, and a couple in Indiana.
The major tournament of our season is in Florida, a town called Auburndale, which is just south of Orlando. That is the HWSA tournament, which all of the homeschool teams are invited to in the country. Most of the ones that attend are from the south. We're the northernmost team that comes,
we're going down to Florida, we're going to St. Louis, and we're going to Indianapolis. And I'm hoping to, we want to put up a good showing. We don't just want to be there to be the exhibition guys, that everybody beats up on. We want to be in the game. And it's weather related. I mean, we're here at Next Level, indoor facility for the majority of our winter, and they're outside already for a month or two. So that's a huge advantage for them.
We really want to push our boys in terms of quality, and the competition, the practices that we run are designed to test these boys. Some because it's just good in life to be tested, and then others want to play college baseball, and we've had several kids over the years go to college teams. The program isn't just designed for those kids, obviously, but it certainly is tailored to those who want to.
I see a lot more focus. These guys are generally here because they want to be here. It's not because they're in school and it's something fun to do. I mean, a lot of these guys are traveling from, I got some Illinois guys, I got some Kenosha, Racine area guys, I got some guys from close to Madison area. So these guys are making a commitment to us, and we're putting that commitment back to them.
Swisha, it's a couple things. First of all, you got a lot of different sports that the teams can compete in. Second of all, I would say that it's kind of like a Christian subculture. Got a lot of families that get to know each other through the different sports, and then the baseball families as they travel all over southeastern Wisconsin.
So many times we get the question of, well, do your kids get any socialization? They think that, I don't know, I guess they just think that the kids are pent up in a house and they never get outside. And so Swisha as an organization definitely offers that opportunity. So we really do give an outlet for young boys and girls to be able to play sports and hopefully grow and really enjoy athletics.
I think it's a great opportunity for these guys to, in the homeschool environment, still get their athletics in. That's huge.
I play football with the Saints, and I might play basketball this next year with the Saints also. Probably the one major thing is there's a lot less maybe like vulgar language and stuff, but other than that, there's still just a good bunch of guys to play around with.
I'm more of a utility player. I play pitcher, catcher, shortstop, second base, so mostly infield really. I played for a select team before this, so I love it because I have a lot of public school friends and homeschool friends, but when you play with homeschool friends, they get you, so I don't know, it's cool. Nice coaches and all.
Typically, it's going to be a parent who coaches a team. And what you'll see oftentimes is that they'll move through the system. A parent will stay at a particular coaching position for a couple of years as a couple of their children go through that team.
And yes, there is flexibility. We're able to travel the way we do because the parents can schedule the schooling around the sport more than the sport around the schooling.
Since I'm homeschooled, if we have a morning practice, I can do my school after practice. Or if we have a practice in the afternoon, I can do it before practice and after practice or whatever. So
just like some of these kids work at places during the middle of the day, and then they do their schooling either early morning or late afternoon. So that unconventional schooling does have great advantages.
Many parents and students enjoy homeschooling for the myriad of options that it offers, the fact that it allows for more freedom with schedules, and the ability to tailor each specific child's education in order to help them excel at personal interests, or to focus on particular areas where they might be struggling.
I felt I had more options as a homeschooler for the simple reason that we got to choose what we studied, what was emphasized, when we did our work, how we did it. There's just so much freedom, family to family, kid to kid even. My brothers and sisters weren't homeschooled the same way I was, so it was much more matched to their temperament and their style of doing things, and I think that's important to emphasize learning and to make it interesting and make you want to continue and succeed in what you're doing.
A lot of it was fun. We made it fun. They didn't know they were learning because they were just experiencing life, but it was learning.
You tricked us into learning.
I did. I was good at that.
It was get up eat a bowl of cereal, and then get to work on my own subjects. Pretty much work for an hour or so on each subject. Pretty much I scheduled my own time.
If you really focus, you're gonna finish quite early. Like you're gonna and then you're not stuck with homework afterwards because you're already at home.
We were just given our assignments and then we were responsible for getting them done. So if I was really diligent, I could knock out my whole day's worth of school in about 4 or 5 hours, and then I just had the rest of the time to play. So I could go outside and play with my brother, or read books, or play with any of our toys that we had. And so I can remember there were lots of times when my brother and I would be outside playing in the spring, and we'd see the school buses start to come home, and we'd already been outside for 3 hours, and we would look at each other and be like, oh, we have got such a sweet deal because we get to play for 3 hours more than other kids who have to be stuck in a school building.
One major thing that sticks out in my mind about it was the self-discipline that it gave me, and the sort of self-motivated education, because now with that background, if I see something I want to learn, I can go and either teach myself it with a book or find someone else to teach it to me.
Being on my own and teaching myself subjects helped me realize that I was the only one that could get it done, and I was my resource for learning things. I mean, I could go to my parents, but I wasn't dependent on anyone else. It was very self-motivated.
I know from being in college that oftentimes I will just try to learn from the professor, especially if I can't understand the book. One thing that's about homeschooling, maybe it forces you to do a little bit more, is that you have to read from the book and understand things for yourself. It forces you to learn exactly what you're doing.
Because when you're being homeschooled, you're the only person in your class. If you don't understand something, you just keep working on it until you get it, and then you move ahead after you've established your grasp of the subject. In a classroom setting, they can't always do that, and so they'll try and help you if you're struggling, but other than that, they pretty much have to move along, and you have to keep up with the class.
Though not a primary focus for all homeschoolers, family relationships are a strong component of the homeschooling experience as well.
Parents spend, all their, well, not all their time, but a lot of their time with their children, teaching them. A lot more quality time with your parents and parents with children.
Personally, it offers a lot of extra time as a family and a lot of extra time to know each other and to care about each other and to understand each other.
I like it because we get to have more time with our siblings then, and if we finish our schoolwork quick, then we'll have more time to play.
When my brother comes back from college, there's been days which I've been able to work ahead for those days and maybe clear out half a week so I can spend time with him when he comes back.
I'd like to say right off the bat that if you're public schooled or if you didn't have the same situation that I had, that it's not that these things aren't possible, but with my brothers going to college and my sister traveling a lot, I feel like had I not had the 9 years or so when I was homeschooled with them constantly and growing up with them, I don't think I would have had such a relationship that I have today, such a close-knit, tight-knit relationship. And that's something I didn't necessarily value when I left to go public school, but now that I come back to college and family is increasingly more important to me, it's something that I really respect my parents for choosing for me.
Those were things that we discovered as we went on with homeschooling. Our very first decision to homeschool was academics. And so as we continued homeschooling, we realized just the relationship it gave us with our kids, the ability to teach them faith, to speak into their lives in a way I don't think we could have spoken into otherwise.
Homeschooling has been very good for us. And as we look back on it, we really don't have any regrets, for the choice that we've made. There have been some hard times and some challenges along the way, but ultimately no regrets.
Homeschoolers have always been quite confident in their ability to educate in the home. Today, as the second generation of homeschoolers begins to appear, it will now be their choice and their responsibility to continue a movement that their parents began.
Homeschooling has definitely prepared me very well for life. The academic side of things, we did learn how to read, how to write, how to communicate. We're not geniuses, but we're also not less smart because we were taught by our parents, and we have the same education, we have the same opportunities. We were able to play sports and make friends and everything like that, and it was wonderful. And I know that if I were to ever have kids someday, they would be homeschooled.
Homeschooling is definitely a big component of who I am today. I feel like I wouldn't be at all the same person if I were schooled any other way.
I think about the human race and history, and humans, I think it might be the more natural way actually to teach your kids is the parent, the biological parent teaches the kid, you know, one-on-one. The whole institutional business of taking kids in large groups and segmenting them into grades and saying this will be your teacher for this grade and this subject and whatnot is sort of a byproduct of larger society and large cities and civilizations coming together, and definitely convenient for certain purposes and whatnot, obviously, because that's what many cultures or all cultures use, but not necessarily the best for quality of education, because you really can't get better education than one-on-one. You have your own private tutor 24/7, 365.
Even as the benefits and successes of homeschooling make it a viable option, it must also be noted that the choice to homeschool requires a very serious commitment. It is the responsibility of parents to realize this, to move forward with confidence, and provide an even brighter future in the homeschooling movement for generations to come.
I look back and it kind of scares me to see how important what I did was and is, and I wish I had done it better, but I was having too much fun. You know, I really enjoyed homeschooling.
There are lots of wonderful reasons to homeschool, and I think whoever is expecting to walk into that world really needs to take a very serious look at what the responsibilities are.
I think you have to have a bigger reason why you want to homeschool. It has to be a real clear-cut reason.
Yeah, I think it's really important to understand why you feel like it might be a good option for your family and for your kids.
Don't homeschool because you're afraid. Don't homeschool because you're afraid of the culture. You're afraid of sending your kid to public school or things like that. If you homeschool out of fear, you're doing it for the wrong reasons. You need to homeschool out of confidence that you're bringing up a child who's going to be a solid citizen of this country. You're bringing up a child who's going to be a solid disciple of Jesus. Your homeschooling should be out of confidence, not out of fear. Because if you homeschool out of fear, then you isolate. But if you homeschool out of confidence, then you engage your neighborhood and your culture in a way that is very powerful.